For our debut ForgeCast, we spoke with Enenra's solo developer Zahid Ali. Now, Enenra is a hack and slash game set in a futuristic Japanese world that Zahid is developing on Unreal Engine 5. Zahid spoke with us about how he got into game development and what's it like solo deving a game, along with discussing some of the various challenges he's had to overcome building something like this from the ground up. Additionally, Zahid was also recently awarded a Megagrant to help him develop Enenra. ForgeCast. I guess that's what we're calling it. We're probably calling it that. The ForgeCast, because
it's too late now.
I've said it. So yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about you and what do you do.
Hi everyone. I'm Zahid. I'm a solo developer for Enenra, and I'm also a combat designer at Ninja Theory. And I've only been developing games for about a year and 8 months in total. After uni. So that's what I've been doing. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome.
We're very excited to have you.
Awesome. So how'd you get into game? How did you get into any sort of game development? Was it instant or was it a gradual process?
I actually got into game development pretty late. I'm 29 now, and I finished uni like two years ago, around that. So I was just working normal jobs, and I started at college, and I finished college and went to uni, but it was just at that time I was just working away. I never really thought I'd want to get into it, but then when I did get into it, I put everything into it and tried to get the best grades as much as I could. So I went through uni, and then after uni, there was like a lull period where I couldn't get a job, and that's where this game was born from. That period of nothingness.
So you studied video game design?
Yeah.
Where did you study, and how was that program? What was the experience like?
I studied at the University of Wolverhampton, and it was 3 years long. And it was an all-rounder course, so it wasn't specific in anything. It was more everything. Like, we even did digital art.
Okay.
And I drew for a while, and then I stopped because I can't draw. And but it was like an all-rounder to give you an experience of like level design, modeling, animation. But combat design, what I enjoy doing now, was never a thing. It was just unheard of. It was heard of, but not in that course. So it was good. I got a good experience of everything. I just feel there could have been more.
Yeah. So how long was this? Like the
3
entire
years.
course, or 3 years of all of this?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so that kind of, and then you said there was a lull period after this, and then you just found your own way, and then started working on your own game.
Yeah. So it's actually a good story. I finished uni, and I was applying for jobs, and I did a level design test, and I made a game, and it was just like a first-person Cyberpunk shooting game. I never thought anything of it. It was for a level designer role, and I sent the application in. I didn't get the job, but they gave me a lot of good feedback.
Okay.
And it was about enemy variety and how you should learn how to like make different enemies in AI. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. But after that, I met all my friends and we went to Starbucks. I don't usually go Starbucks, but we all met up. We sat down, and I just said, lads, what game should I make? Really, what game would you guys want to play? Like, out of my friends who aren't gamers, but I just asked anyway, and they said they'd like something similar to Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
And then it just took off from there. I said I wanted to be set in Japan. It doesn't matter about the setting. They said it was just that kind of game, something that you can get your hands in on. And then here we are.
Interesting. So again, because just questions about. So was Unreal a choice right in the beginning? What led you to Unreal?
It was actually uni. It was uni. We used, I think it's Adobe Flash.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can use that. Yeah, we used that to make a 2D jumping game. I made a 2D jumping game, and we also used Game Maker. And I'm not saying they're bad or anything. I'm just saying they weren't for me. But when we used Unreal, really enjoyed it. It was like full of tools.
So how was the learning process? Because we teach Unreal over here. So what has that been like? Because I know you were taught it at school. Was
Yeah.
it very deep learning at school, or did you have to learn on your own a little bit?
There was a lot of learning on your own, like a lot of learning. It would go down like the classes would be like they would say we're going to learn how to, for example, open a door, and then we'd sit there and go through the blueprint and just learn how to do it, and then take that and start using it on other things in that same session. Eventually, would lead to like an end of assignment where we would use a multiple amount of, I'd say, blueprints to make like a little level or a little, not even a game, just like a bunch of actors working within the actual level itself. So they were all very small assignments, I'd say. We did have like a final major project as well.
Okay.
So in that project, I went and had to learn a whole bunch of stuff outside of uni. So I do believe like self-learning, outside learning is very, very, very important.
Okay. So tell us about the game. Like, how did it happen? How did you start building it? What's been the journey so far?
So when I started, it was actually a first-person shooter when I started.
Okay.
And it was a first person shooter where you could like rewind time. And I saw a tutorial online and it was like rewind time by holding a button and shooting these actors. I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I did it. And from there, I was like, well, I don't know what to do now. So the tutorial only ever taught you that much. And I was like, well, this is not really useful. I saw a bunch of assets online, like the locomotion and all stuff. And I just thought I could use all this and use their systems, but no. I just thought I'm going to do everything from scratch, except the models. I can't model.
So you built all of this from scratch?
Yeah, all the scripts and
Wow.
everything is
So
all mine.
when you started working on this, did you have an idea of like the story and the game in mind, or were you just like messing around and just it came
Genuinely
from
messing
that?
about. Yeah, I was just
Oh,
like, oh,
wow.
I'm gonna have fun, make a third-person game, where it's like a hack and slash game. But then I had no ideas about the mechanics or what style of game it would be. It was just I want to make something similar to Devil May Cry, and that's how
Okay.
it started. Yeah.
Yeah, you said it started as an FPS, but then went to third person, right? How did that switch happen?
It's when I asked my friends and they said, "No, make a third-person game." This
Oh,
stop it. They just said stop it, and like first-person games, without sounding like condescending, they said the first-person games are easy, but third-person games are like stupid hard because you have to animate everything and get animations for everything. I was like, all right, fair enough. It's a challenge. Let's do it.
okay.
Yeah,
So I've seen a lot of clips, and I'm saying this during the podcast as well. I've seen a lot of clips of the game, and one of the most interesting mechanics is, of course, that blink. I'm saying blink because I play a lot of Dota,
yeah,
but teleportation mechanic. That reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy. You know,
yeah.
when Noctis throws the sword, and then he just teleports to it. So how did that come into your game? And then you mentioned it's been a something that you built right from scratch.
Yeah. So it was like, I was playing Devil May Cry 5. I play a lot just for like reference. But I noticed that moving between areas was kind of boring, and that's been the case for a lot of hack and slash games where you move between different areas. It's boring as anything, just in my opinion. So I just thought I'm going to make something that'll make it fun, and it was simply just you can teleport to a point, you move to a point, and that's it. That was it. And I was like, yeah, this is great. And then I thought, no, I think I could do more than this, and I started adding like animations and then teleporting into the air, flipping over walls, and then adding a slide, and then it just grew, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's like a fundamental part of the game.
Yeah, I saw like 80 level did an article on it as well. When
Yeah.
I was look, it was amazing. So the teleportation mechanic, can you teleport anywhere, or is it specific areas? How does it
It's
work?
only designated positions in the map at the moment, and that ties into the story without revealing too much. But there may be points. I'm not saying there will or won't be points where you can teleport anywhere. But at the moment, it's designated. The reason for that is because of the logic. It dictates what you're going to do when you get to that point,
Okay.
and it's all automated, so the player doesn't have to worry about it too much. They just like click, boom, I'm there.
Okay.
Oh, it's working. Yeah.
Okay. So a few more, questions because I know we're talking to you about in the how do I pronounce it? The game. What's the right?
Enenra.
Enenra.
Yeah.
Mom got it right. She said it to me
Yeah.
yesterday.
It's got a bounce
So
in it.
yeah,
What does that
Enenra.
mean?
It's a Japanese yokai, which is like a folklore monster, but it means a monster made out of smoke and shadow. And that's another weird story that came to be. If you want to hear it, but
Yes, yes,
Yeah, go
please.
for it.
one of my friends, Danny, this guy's got amazing ideas, and I thought the original name of the game was called Tempest, and that doesn't sound good to me anymore. But I just called him. I said, Danny, I need a better idea for a name. And we just started going through all these Japanese folklore monster names, and we both landed at Enenra at the same time. We said it on the phone. It's like, yo, Enenra sounds good. What is it? Looked into it. I was like, boom, that's what it is.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That was
Nice,
literally
very
it.
very straightforward. Okay, so question about the game. In terms of story, you're writing all the story yourself. The narrative
Yeah.
elements are just all you,
Yeah.
or do you have somebody helping you with that?
With no. It's all going to be done by myself, including the cinematics and well, voice actors will get involved for voicing characters, but I'll be hoping to write all the scripts and everything to do with the story myself.
Okay, so then that kind of leads into the next question I have. How do you, as a solo developer, how do you control scope? Like, when do you know?
So
When do you say it's enough? I need to stop now.
I think that was always the biggest factor in the whole of development was that I never ever looked at scope, and that's a problem for a lot of people. And like, yeah, the game's too big; it'll take forever to make. But I never looked at it that way. I just thought I'm going to make this and finish it, no matter how long it takes. And along the way, there's ways I've learned to automate things, which has dropped the scope right down and made life so much easier. So something which I thought was crazy hard to do, for example, the combat mechanics, and then when you nail them and you get everything working and you have a workflow, it becomes what took me like 2 months to do before, an hour now. So everything that I wanted to do in the future, I had plans for, the scope has come right back down. Purely because I'd say due to automation and just making a better workflow.
When you say automation, without of course giving away stuff that you built or like proprietary stuff, what are you looking to automate?
So I'll be specific about this. For example,
Yeah.
something as simple as looking at the enemy, because a lot of people do have troubles with just simply just looking at the enemy. At what point? I've made like a function, a specific script, which will always have you look at the enemy, depending on the situation. The situation is dependent, and you can choose where you're. If you're in the air, if you're dashing, you don't want to look at the enemy. You want to look in the direction you're pushing. So it was all just like using like function libraries, and you just pull them in at any point. It was really easy to just click a button, and it's set. It's ready to go. But yeah, I think if it is technical heavy, I would say to everybody to look into Blueprint function libraries because they're amazing. They solve everything.
Okay, awesome. So then next question for you is how's solo deving a game is not easy.
No.
It's not easy. It's a very intimidating experience. You can find YouTube videos all about this, and that's what we're trying to highlight here in the ForgeCast. How has that experience been? How do you keep yourself motivated?
If I'm honest, it's been really, really, really difficult, really hard. Without sugarcoating it or anything, it's been very difficult because I work my normal job, like 8 to 4, whenever, and then I come straight home and work till like 9, 10. So it's like that every day. The motivation usually comes from, I think for me, it's the enjoyment of it now. I actually physically enjoy making this game or making this work and the problem solving aspect. I know that might sound like a generic answer, but it's actually genuine. Like, yeah,
What? Oh, sorry. Were there any like points where you were just too overwhelmed
Yeah. Any
by
give
it,
up?
and you're
Any
like,
almost give up points?
there was one point, it was really recent actually,
Oh
where
wow.
the game kept crashing every single time I packaged it, every day for a week straight. And I remember it was a very difficult time because at one point I thought, man, it's not happening. I think this is it. It's done. And I was like trying to get programmers from work to help me out. I was trying to get my housemates to help me out. Everyone and anyone. I was just trying, and there was no solution to it. But I guess on the last day, the Sunday, I figured it out. I solved it, but I think it was really difficult. Like it, if it didn't get solved, I think that would have been it.
Ooh.
ah.
No Enenra for us
No, no.
if you didn't beat that boss, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's so okay. So what about beyond points like this? Like as you're building the game, because this game effectively because it's yours, It doesn't have an end date. It's finished when you set the finish. How do you set when enough is enough?
I've got like a layout plan of what I want to do, in terms of story and chapters and level, and how many levels I want. So I'm following this specific set that I need to get done, and it's a certain amount of levels in a certain amount of chapters and a certain amount of modes. The modes are done. It's like practice mode and wave mode, and they're ready to go. But it's just getting everything up to that point. So the way I'm looking at it is, at least every 3 months, get a chapter done, levels done, and everything. And one chapter is almost done. It needs polish, but I can move on to the next 4. So it would just be getting through them, and however long they take. But I give it that 3 months, like a month of level design, a month of mechanics, and then a month of polish.
Okay. What about just generally making a game? Mom, did you have a question? Sorry
Yes,
if I
I
cut you
did.
off. Apologies.
I just want to ask. So, since you mentioned that you wrote this entire story yourself, and it's just been you. Like I've, when I talk to people who've written stories themselves, there does come a point where you think that, oh, I can add this as well, and that'll add to it, but that might not be the best thing for the story, just to keep it concise and stuff. So, have you ever hit that moment where you're like, I really want to add this, but maybe I shouldn't? So, like, if you ever experienced that, how did you sort of like stop yourself and be like, someone
No,
has to manage this?
Yeah, that's a really real problem that has come up a lot of times. A lot of the times I do think, oh, I can change this, I can add this. Exactly that.
Yeah.
But the way I've always brought it back to, no, that there's no point adding more to it, is that most of it wouldn't make sense to the story that I've currently got. So I think making a story which makes sense to yourself, the person who's making it, adding more to it wouldn't add anything else to it. You've already got your story, so adding more would just be more work, unless it's
Okay.
like a huge change that changes the game entirely.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think it's great that you have like that sort of, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but like, I guess the control to
Yeah,
admit to yourself that, okay, let's not get carried away.
yeah,
And because that's pretty hard
Yeah,
to
because it's very easy. I mean, as someone that I'm also working on a game of my own, it's very easy to just see, this vision of the final game and it looks amazing and it's bug
yeah.
free, and that just motivates you when it's not even there. You're just thinking it up in your head. You're
Yeah,
like, I want to do
yeah, yeah,
this. So it's very hard when you have no deadline. I think that's
yeah.
it's a double-edged sword, so to speak.
yeah. I also think that I don't want to be working on this game forever. I want to work on a new game
Okay.
eventually. I want to make a game full of mechs. I don't know how, but just
What
I
kind
like.
of mechs? Are you talking
Do
like
you,
front
do you,
mission?
do you remember a game called Zone of the Enders?
Yes. Oh
Yeah,
God,
like
such a
that,
good
that
game.
just that just
I
died out.
have you speaking of another strange mech game? I don't know if many people that are going to watch this would be aware of this, but have you heard of the game I mentioned earlier, Front Mission? Front Mission
I do, yeah,
4.
I do know it.
Very
And
old game.
yeah,
It
yeah.
also I didn't see anything more from that. There was Front Mission. There was also this other really interesting mech game. I forget because I love mechs. I didn't. Bit of a story. We're detracting from what this is, but it's all right. It's a ForgeCast. So I didn't see the trailer for Ready Player One. So
Okay.
I did not know they're gonna have a Gundam in there.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I didn't watch the trailer. I was so busy because I was working at that time. I was in just south of Shanghai in Suzhou, and so I went to go see this movie. And then he does that. He jumps out of the plane and he
Yeah,
turns
yeah,
into.
yeah.
And I screamed in the cinema. I've been watching. I watched Gundam Seed. I watched all of them. Seed, Destiny.
You've got a Gundam up
Yeah,
there
I
as
know.
well.
You noticed it.
I've
There's
got
like
one there as well. I'm
yeah,
gonna leave it
my
there.
sister, she just heard me say that I like the X105, the OG Gundam, and then she found a way of
Yeah.
getting it for me. So yeah, I'm interesting that you noticed. I've got a point at it. Okay, I need your
It's
script to point.
it's blurry as anything, but I
Yeah,
recognize it.
but yeah, okay. So last question for you. So any advice for people getting into Unreal that want to make their own games? Starting points. I mean, they come and they learn Unreal with us. We do a 12-week course. Sometimes it's an 8-week course.
Yeah.
But what happens after you're done being given all the tools? How do you find your inspiration?
Um. I believe the usual advice is to make a bunch of like smaller games to learn as much as you can. I think I would add to that, making smaller games and understanding as much mechanics is great, but making something that you want to make, something that you'd be passionate about, because I do believe that passion is what drives you. Like we like mechs, for example. So if you were to make a game about mechs, you would put that effort in. But if it was FIFA, not so much.
Ooh, contra. I'm sure all the FIFA people, the people that enjoy FIFA, will be like, what? But no, not even mechs. The other thing that I can't resist is aircraft. So Ace
Okay.
Combat and all of that stuff.
Ace Combat's really good.
I will just, if I ever got a chance to make a game with flight mechanics in it, I'd be like, yes.
Yeah.
Just got back from Top Gun anyway, so yeah, loved it. But so Zahid, one last question for you before I know I said the seventh one was the final one. I've got one more. All of this game, how much of Blueprint and C++? What's the balance there? Do you have much C++ in there? Do you have much Blueprint in there?
I'd say it's more Blueprint than anything. I'd say it's like 10% C++. That was mostly from fixing that week of errors. I had
Okay.
that the game was crashing. So mostly it's like error stuff and finding out what's crashing the game comes from the C++ side. But
Okay.
most of it is all Blueprint. Like it's fairly easy to get it all done in Blueprint, to be fair.
Yeah, because the question I get asked as an instructor is, how much can I really get done with blueprints? And I tell them you can
Yeah.
get a lot done with blueprints.
You can get a whole game done. Yeah.
So have you identified any potential bottlenecks when just using a blueprint heavy project, or it's been quite seamless for you?
It's been pretty seamless. Because I use Blueprint every day at work as well, so I'm learning everything I possibly can there. But even in industry, we're using it as like a daily thing. So that idea that I guess people have that C++ against Blueprint, I'd say whatever's most comfortable, whatever language you're more comfortable with. And because in uni we were mainly doing game design, we were using Blueprint most, so we never did a lot of programming. All of the programming stuff I did learn was usually outside of work. But no, I do believe that you can get a lot done with Blueprint. When it comes to like optimization and certain very very specific things that you can only get done in C++, I would say make that jump and make it work.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. That's kind of the instruction I give people as well. Like the answer is both,
Yeah,
because it's designed, like you can rapidly iterate in blueprints. Then whatever you need to switch over to C++, you can.
yeah,
But
100%.
it's always designed to be this kind of switch between C++ and blueprints, and this that line can be moved throughout the
Yeah,
development process.
Did you
100%.
have a lot of coding experience before?
No, no.
Yeah, because I
None.
think that's really important because a lot of people who, at least like in my master's course as well, there are a lot of art students who have zero programming knowledge. And they're
Yeah,
like, even if we need 1% of C++ in the game we make, they sort of start freaking out. And but it's good to know that even if you have no experience,
yeah.
you can figure it out.
I did. I was literally working like in a vape shop before I started studying, or while I was studying. So, with no knowledge of these things, not being able to do anything. So, I genuinely believe if with the effort, people can do whatever they want. They can get into this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, so Zahid, I think that's all the questions we have, Mom. If you have any more, we
Yeah,
can
no, I think we
we can
covered.
I think we've covered a lot. So any release date for, and I can't say it. I messed it up.
Enenra.
And then
Enenra. Any release date for Enenra, or whenever we'll have the next build that we can download, because we can't now for people that are
I'll
watching.
I'll probably get the next build out by the end of the month with all the new combat that I've added, the free flow stuff. Um, Probably like Wednesday next week because I'm going on holiday.
Zahid also mentioned, for our viewers, Zahid also mentioned that he had to take down the build because people were ripping off his game mechanics. Do you want to tell people about that experience? How that's been almost
It's
protecting your game?
yeah, actually that's a good topic. I think
Yeah.
learning to protect your game is a whole nother topic, a whole different ball game. People should start teaching in uni because I never knew about it until it
Yeah.
happened to me. So I think teaching that, learning that would be really important
So what
because people
happened
can.
specifically? I've been itching to ask. Like, so you started noticing that your mechanics were getting ripped off, or
I was told, but I noticed my mechanics were getting copied essentially. But
yeah, I
then
shouldn't. I should say copy, not ripped off.
yeah, but then someone showed me that they've literally taken a chunk, a level out of my game, and they're selling it on some tour website, and sent me a screenshot and everything. And then he kindly enough like got it removed and taken down. But there's ways to unencrypt your games as well, and just look at through all the source code, and that would just ruin everything essentially.
Yeah.
So I would say learning to encrypt your projects ASAP is really important. I've learned it now.
Yeah.
So
No, and that's a good point that they would never like cover that as a topic
no,
in university if they're teaching you.
I think it's very important now because
Yeah.
if somebody wants to get into the game like solo dev and they have no idea, and then people just start ripping stuff out, it's like, yeah, I don't know, a year and something of work just gone. Not gone, but like they're just selling it. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, Zahid, thank you so much for being on the first episode. We're super excited to have more of these and hopefully have you back on when the game is finally released to talk about it.
I would love to. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. Let us know what you thought about our first ForgeCast with Zahid. Additionally, if you are developing with Unreal Engine as a solo developer or as part of a team and you want to come on the show to talk about your game, we'd love to hear from you because we're hoping to make this a more regular show on the channel. So thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.